Right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Late Night Football. Welcome to our afternoon live show. We're live and we're talking about some of the top transfer stories that we have seen that we're reading about today. So, thank you all for joining. Of course, as I said, do share your comments in about the stories that you might want me to discuss. And of course, do share your insights on the things that I will be talking about, of course. Just sharing a quick review. There's been so much happening over the last 24 hours, and there's a heat wave in Toronto right now. And so it just feels kind of depressing, doesn't it, a little bit? And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do a bunch of reels. So we'll do a live show because it's a nice little therapy session as well that I get. And of course, the fact that I can chat about this. So, right, let's get into it. A bit of breaking news has just come out actually is about Christian Pulisic to AC Milan. Now, AC Milan are interested in Christian Pulisic and they do want to sign him this summer. I mean, Chelsea, of course, do want to sell him. As we know, they've been trying to get rid of him. Someone who's been very injury prone. 22 million euros, between 20 and 22 million. That's what I'm hearing. Like, I think Romano said that the offer has been up to 20 million euros. What I saw on another report was 22 million. So somewhere between 20 and 22 million. Probably there's some add-ons in there as well that take it there. But it's an interesting offer, 22 million euros. I'm not sure what Chelsea's expectation is. I think they're expecting around 25 to 30 million, I think is what they're expecting. I mean, if you're expecting 25, then I think 2022 is a good enough offer. And I think they should take it. But if they're looking at 30, then probably this doesn't match that. Is Christian Pulisic worth 30 million euros? Probably not 25. I think 25 is about right. He's very, very injury prone. And he's someone who promised a lot in his career, and at times he looked very, very good. But then every time he got a bit of run of form, he just went injured. So, from that perspective, you can't really rely on injury prone players. That's something that I've always said. So, at this moment in time, I think 22 million euros, fair amount. Just take it and move on, I guess, and move on to other players because they've got a lot of players and they need to get rid of them. So, and Pulisic, of course, wants to go to Milan. So, you make that deal happen and you get that done. So, I think that's a decent price point for me, but we'll see what Chelsea come up with and we'll see how those negotiations pan out. We'll, of course, keep you updated as we know more, but that's one breaking news deal that was coming out. Other deals that have been talked about, of course, Declan Rice, finally, here we go from Fabrizio Romano. 105 million pounds. That was already confirmed that it was agreed. That Arsenal were willing to pay 105 million pounds. I think the only question was the structure of the deal because West Ham wanted it over 18 months, Arsenal wanted it over 3 years. I think they finally now come to an agreement. I think it's over 2 years that they will pay that amount. Of course, 95 plus 10 million in add-ons. So the 95, I think, will be paid across 2 years. I think is what we're being told. So I think the agreement has been reached. I mean, it's a fantastic signing. I've said this, covered this before. Of course, fantastic signing for Arsenal. It instantly elevates their midfield quite a bit. I think he is an upgrade on Xhaka for sure. I think we get this conversation. Where is he going to play? I think he can play either in the Thomas Partey role or the Xhaka role. But for now, I think because Thomas Partey is still there, I think he will play in the Xhaka role. I'm not sure if Havertz can play the Xhaka role, to be honest. I just don't see that happening. I know people are saying it, but I just don't see it happening. But maybe he can. Either way, I think he's an upgrade on Thomas Partey. He's an upgrade on Xhaka. So you could play Declan Rice anywhere you want. And it'd be better than what they have. So it instantly elevates that midfield. Fantastic signing for Arsenal, and of course we'll just wait for official confirmation now. But brilliant signing for them, and well done. Congratulations to Arsenal fans for getting such a wonderful player. But this was something we'd already covered before, but just wanted to give that update that yes, that is happening. Jurrien Timber to Arsenal, that has also got a year we go. Again, we covered that as well, that the verbal agreement was in place. So this was just a matter of dotting the T's and dotting the I's and crossing the T's. So this is what was going to happen. But Jurrien Timber to Arsenal also, we got a year we go from that. 45 million euros all included, with 40 million in base price, 40 million euros plus 5 million euros in add-ons, which are apparently easily achievable. So 45 million euros is the total that is going to be given to Ajax. Again, another brilliant signing for Arsenal. He can play right back, he can play centre back. Well, again, a discussion, by the way, in the last live show, if you watch it back again, if you want to watch it, where we're talking about how he's got the ability to underlap. He could play the Ben White role as a right back. He could also play, as a cover centre back. Again, they need somebody, to cover for Saliba and Gabriel in case there are suspensions or injuries. You always need a big squad, and when you have a defender like Timber, that really helps in covering for that position as well. So it's a fantastic deal from Arsenal's point of view. Also, of course, the fact that if you play Timber, you can have Ben White as your cover for centre back as well. So you can have either of the two, and it could work quite well. So I think gives them more depth, and I think squad depth is something that they lacked last season when they were pushing for the title. I think this season now you're starting to see a bit more squad depth coming into the picture for Arsenal, and that is very, very useful and very, very vital. So I'm sure there'll be other signings, but I think this is a very, very good start for Arsenal in terms of getting two key players and quality players in Timber and Declan Rice, and puts elevates that team. Are they ready to challenge City now on a more serious note? I think last season they kind of fell away. Will they be able to have a sustained title challenge? It's something that I will still wait on. I think they still need a couple more players to come in. And I don't know if those players will come in, but I'm sure they'll want a couple more players to come in before we can start talking about them seriously being contenders for the title. But they are on a good track. I think they're on a good track, and that is what you want as a fan. I think as a club, that's what you want. You just want to make that progress, and we're seeing that now, and that's brilliant. That is brilliant from Arsenal's point of view. So two very good deals, and I've already given my reaction to those, of course, before. But when I've seen those nearing completion, which is fantastic to see. So well done to Arsenal. Congratulations to Arsenal fans, as I said. More talks, of course, and the rumor that has been talked about. Chelsea and Brighton are currently talking about Moises Caicedo. I'm not sure what there's to talk about, because I mean I think Chelsea are still trying to haggle on the fee. I think what I was told, I think, is that Brighton want about 85, 90. 85 is the starting point. They want to get closer to 90, 95 million pounds, whereas Chelsea want to pay about 80 million pounds inclusive of add-ons. Now, here's the thing: when you can see Declan Rice going for 105 million pounds, right? Other clubs are going to increase prices for the midfielders. That is just a natural, normal consequence of what happens, particularly when you're playing in England. Because I think Caicedo, he's not as good as Rice. He's not as multifaceted as Rice is. Of course, he's a very good CDM. I don't think he can play a number 8 as well as Rice can, but he's a very multifaceted player, and he can also. He's also younger than Rice. So Brighton are very well going to say, look, Declan Rice has gone for 105 million pounds. He's playing for West Ham. West Ham weren't as good in the league as we were, and Moises Caicedo, in that sense, is playing for a better team than Declan Rice was playing. And so if Declan Rice for West Ham is worth 105 million pounds, all right, they won a trophy, they won a European trophy, but the fact is that in the league we were better. We are well within our rights to demand, 85, 90, 95 million pounds for him, because that's the price that Arsenal are willing to pay for Rice. So you've got to be willing to pay that for Caicedo. So I see no problem with that. I think from Chelsea's point of view, what you're starting to see is maybe they're going, 70 plus 10, let's do it at 80. And I think this is something that Chelsea are doing very expertly, where they're trying to sell their deadwood for high prices and then trying to get good players for, on cheap prices. And if Caicedo goes for 70 plus 10, that is a cheap deal. That is a steal. I would say that's a steal. When you think about all the other players and all the prices around, that is a steal. If you can get Caicedo for 70 plus 10, that's a steal. So I hope Brighton don't do a deal selfishly. I'm a United fan, so obviously I don't want Chelsea to get good deals. So I hope Brighton don't do a deal at that price. I hope they stick to their valuation of 85 plus 10, or whatever, 90 pound, 90 million, 95 million pound overall valuation. I hope they stick to that valuation, whatever that valuation is. Or at least they get close to it. I hope that they do that. But I don't know. Chelsea have got good negotiators. They know how to get their price. They know how to get their value on both sides of the coin. They know how to get the value for to sell high and to buy low. They get that. So I'm still unsure about that one. But those negotiations are ongoing in the background. That's what Romano told us, that it's going on in the background. So we just got to be patient and see what happens with that. But that's another one that could be one to keep an eye on, of course. And then we'll go a little bit outside the Premier League for a bit. Arda Güler, the Turkish player, youngster. I think he's a midfielder. I'm still not sure what position he plays, but I think he's a midfielder. But hot on his heels are Real Madrid and Barcelona. Now this happens very rarely, folks, where you have Real Madrid and Barcelona both fighting for the same player. Now Barcelona seem to be in the race, seem to be leading the race for a while. But over the last 24 hours, we're now hearing that Real Madrid are getting close to signing this. Apparently, medicals have been scheduled for him recently. He's got a very low release clause, which is only about 18 million euros. But Real Madrid offered to pay a little bit more. I think they're going to pay closer to 20 million euros. But that includes things like a sell-on clause, a release, sell-on clause, things like that. I think there's also the sell-on clause was part of the contract that Arda had signed before, so they just included that. So it includes a really sell-on clause, but they've gone a little bit higher just so that they can get better payment structure for him. So I think that was the plan. So that deal now looks likely to be completed in Real Madrid's favor, which is a bit of an embarrassment if you ask me for Barcelona, because I mean they were after the tracking the player for a long time. They were interested. Laporta even came out and said a big, we're working on it. We want to get this deal done, which is very rare that Laporta comes out and says, I think he was trying to build some pressure on the player to kind of sign when you say stuff like that. But the player, I think, has chosen to go to Real Madrid, which is going to be a bit of a blow to Barcelona because they need these kind of deals to come through. That being said, they've got Vitor Roque. They've got a decent youngster anyway, but young player anyway. But I think they'll be disappointed that they missed out on Guler. Particularly disappointed that they missed out on Guler. To Real Madrid. On Guler to Real Madrid, I think that would be a little bit of an embarrassment for Barcelona. But if it goes through, I think it's I don't know how he is. I've only heard stories that he's very talented, very highly rated. So it's a bit of a coup for Real Madrid if they can get a good talented youngster for about 15 million pounds. And if he turns out to be a really good player, then I think they've got something there. So excited to see what happens with that one, but that looks like it's going to go in Real Madrid's favor. We'll of course keep you updated, and we'll let you know if we get a here we go today or tomorrow. We'll let you know. But yeah, it's a coup. It's a coup for Real Madrid in some ways. If he does live up to his potential, I think it could be one of the buys of Real Madrid's time. I think it will be a very good buy for them. And then of course Inter Milan have signed David Frattesi. That deal has been confirmed by Sassuolo. The Sassuolo CEO, has confirmed that David Frattesi is moving to Inter Milan. Inter Milan, of course, if you remember, they have sold Marcelo Brozovic to Saudi Arabia. So I think he's gone to Al Nassr. Yes, he's gone to Al Nassr. And so they needed to buy a replacement, and Frattesi is going to be his replacement. Not seen much of him, but Sassuolo have had a reputation for being a very tough mid-table team to play. And I think he's been a big part of that. Of course, he's an Italian international as well. So someone who could, potentially be a very good replacement for Brozovic. And it's a good deal. I think they've got it done for about 30. What was the price tag? If I can just confirm that for you. I had that in my notes and now suddenly I've forgotten. But yeah, I think they've got him for a very reasonable price as well. Not a bad price at all. So definitely one to keep an eye on. And just on the note of Arda Güler, we're now getting reports that it has been done, not from Romano, but we're getting it from AS, who said that it's been done. I'm not sure if I would buy into that because it's always difficult when other people say stuff like that. You just never know whether it's true or not. And I mean, you always got to be careful with those kind of reports. When people come out and say stuff like that, I'm also just going to check online as well just to see if there's anything else that's happening at the moment. And last time we had the mounting that just came as soon as we were online, and then that just completely threw me off a little bit as well because we did the whole show, and then suddenly you realize that hey, guess what? This is happening now, and then so it's a bit weird. But David Frattesi, I think that thing has been. I just don't know how far up behind I have to go, but yeah, it's been done. Just taking a look at the price tag if I can find an answer for you, but I'm not seeing it. I am not seeing it anymore. So must have been a while back, but nonetheless, it's been done. It's been done. We've got a year we go. So, and of course, Sassuolo have also confirmed it. But again, looks like another good deal for them to do. So that's another one that's been confirmed. And speaking of Inter Milan, they've also got new contracts done for Bastoni and Hakan Çalhanoğlu. Both of them have signed new contracts, long-term contracts to stay at the club. I think it's a good. I mean, Bastoni definitely is one that was a must sign. They had to get him on a new contract because he was attracting a lot of interest. Fantastic defender. I saw him in the Champions League for Inter. He was brilliant in the games that they played. He's got something about him. He's a very good player. So keeping him on a long-term contract is vital. Was vital for Inter Milan. They've done that, and that's fantastic for them. Çalhanoğlu also kind of came to the fore a little bit towards the end of the season. Looked very, very good. So again, keeping him on a long-term contract will also be a benefit to Milan. Or Inter rather, I should say. But the two players signing new contracts is a big deal for Inter Milan, and a wonderful moment for them, and a big deal for them. So yeah, so congratulations again to Inter for that as well. So looks like again they're kind of moving that direction. They're also going to try for Romelu Lukaku again this week. That's another news that's come out. Romelu Lukaku. I mean, the thing with Lukaku, now here's the interesting part about Lukaku is that he wants to go to Inter. Inter want to bring him in, but they don't want to sign him. They want to pay money for him. I think what they want is they want a loan deal. And it makes sense because if you look at Lukaku, he's not really been a starter last season. He wasn't a starter for Inter Milan last season. So how much do you pay for a player who's basically a bench player? Yes, he will rotate and he will be a regular and he will play games. He might even prove himself to become a starter for Inter Milan. But the reality is when you look at last season, his form didn't warrant a big fee. So how much do you actually pay? And Inter Milan don't have a lot of money. They're pretty skint. So I think what they are trying to do is probably trying to negotiate a loan with a buy option. Right? And Chelsea like, no, we don't want to loan him out again because what if he doesn't do well, right? Or what if he has a similar season? Then he's got 1 year less left on his contract. Like he's already he's already finished 2 years of his deal now. He's gonna be on his third year, and after that, I think he only has another 2 years left. So we can't keep loaning you as Chelsea the same. We can't keep loaning out this player who paid 100 million pounds for 100 million euros for whatever they paid. Yeah, they paid big money for him. We paid big money for this player. And if we keep loaning him out, we're losing value because nobody wants pays for him, and you end up not getting the price that you want. So I can see it from both sides, and I think the best way to resolve that would probably be a loan with an obligation to buy, right? Not a buy option, because a buy option doesn't make sense. Because what if a player really, you negotiate a low buy option and the player does really well, and then you're like, well, we're left with, this is what has happened, right? A loan with an obligation to buy helps both sides, because it means that Chelsea will get a guaranteed price at the end of the season, and Inter have to buy him, and Inter kind of know that this is what they're going to have to pay. And of course, if with FFP things and financial issues, maybe Inter can defer that payment by a year, but they go, yes, we bought the player, but you'll only pay for him after this contract period expires. So I think that is where it needs to go. I don't know if Inter will agree to it. I don't know if Chelsea will agree to it. But I know Lukaku has already rejected offers from Saudi Arabia. He doesn't want to go there. He wants to stay in Europe. Obviously, if he wants to go to Inter Milan, he loves Inter Milan, so he wants to go back there again. It's just a matter of the two clubs agreeing the fee, and I don't know. I don't know if they can agree the fee. But anyway, do share your thoughts on that deal. Of course, a very interesting one that's going on. That's a negotiation that's been going on for a while. So do share your thoughts on that. I'd love to hear what you have to think about it. And remember, do smash a like to a video for a video. We'll continue, but I do want to say do smash a like for a video. If you're enjoying it so far, do subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, of course. Always appreciate your support as we do these. And like I said, if we get a lot of likes and we get a lot of good positive responses, I'm more than happy to do more live videos and probably have more guests as well going forward. We will do weekly transfer shows with guests. We'll do that as long as there's no football games, because I know in a couple of weeks the football will start again, but preseason and stuff like that. So we will do that. But always good to know, whether you're enjoying these things and all that, so we can do more of these. So do share your thoughts, of course, in comments. But we'll keep rolling on. And another one that's we'll talk about going back to we'll go to the Premier League, and we'll talk about Manchester United. I don't like talking about Manchester United. Quite frankly, they depress me. They're a big reason why I'm depressed. Honestly, this is a big reason why I'm depressed, because I just don't like them. I just don't like their transfer stories, because so much of it is crap. So much of it is bullshit. It's very hard to separate the bullshit from the truth. When it comes to Manchester United, I mean, we got more information about the takeover, which is all just, again, just regurgitated nonsense that nobody has any idea what's happening, and everybody's just trying to predict what's going to happen. Nobody knows, and that's the thing, nobody knows, and yet people try to predict what's going to happen, and you just don't know, and ultimately you're just setting yourself up for disappointment. If you're a United fan and you're following that, it's depressing. So anyway, I'm not going to talk about takeover stuff here, because I really don't want to talk about it. But transfer stuff, we do know that Manchester United have bid for Andre Onana. I think they actually already bid for Andre Onana not too long ago. I think there was some sort of bid that was going to go in. I think they were going to put it in, and they just put it in over the last 24 hours. It actually went in today. It went in today. Whereas I think what we were hearing was that it was going to go in soon. But that's the thing with United, it's soon. But it finally went in, and it's about £40 million, including add-ons, which is not what actually no, it's about 40 million. It's 40 million. No, 40 million pounds. It's 40 million euros plus 5 million euros in add-ons, which comes up to about 40 million pounds. Inter Milan were closer to 60 million euros. So obviously this bid was going to be rejected. But I think what they're trying to see is now gauge, okay, this is what we put in. How low can we go? I think the deal, as I said in that reel as well, I think the deal will be done for 50 plus 5 in add-ons, 50 million euros plus 5 in add-ons. I think that deal will be done. I don't think it will be done at 40 plus 5. That's for sure. I don't even think it will be done at 45 plus 5. I don't think it will be done at that either. The deal will be done. If it will be done, it will be done at 50 plus 5. I think that is my prediction. Maybe lower. You can put your prediction in for what you think the deal will be done at. But I think it will be done at 50 plus 5. Because, yes, between 40 and 60, you're probably coming to about 50. But the reality is that I think Inter will probably want they'll want 50 plus 5. I don't think they will settle for 45 plus 5. I think they'll want 50 in guaranteed money, and then probably 5 in add-ons. So I think that will be done. But whether United will go that high is another question, because they keep getting linked to all these other goalkeepers. And Bijlow, there's also now Robert Sanchez from Brighton, who has been linked to Manchester United. We actually spoke about Robert Sanchez as an option in the last transfer show. If you remember with Siddhant, if you were there with Siddhant and Girish, we actually talked about that. And we're not ITKs, so we didn't know that this was happening, but we just said maybe that's an option. So we're not going to claim here that we're ITKs. We said that's an option. And I said at the time, it doesn't make sense to go for a Brighton sub, to go for him to bring him to Manchester United. No matter how good he is, you don't do that. Yes, he had a fallout and he couldn't do. I mean, if you've been replaced by Jason Steele, you got to go and get Jason Steele. You can't get Robert Sanchez. Maybe a year ago, yes, but not now. I don't think that's an option. I don't think they should be going in for Robert Sanchez. Yes, he's a good goalkeeper. I don't think he would be anything more than a stopgap anyway. So if you're gonna go, you gotta go for Onana. Unless there's a price issue. I just don't know what a good price for Robert Sanchez would be. But I would say yes, take him over Onana. I just don't know because Sanchez hasn't really played European football. Again, a lot of people, sometimes with goalkeepers and players, a lot of people see these players that do well at mid-table clubs, right? And they think, oh yeah, this guy is good, bring him in. The problem with that often is you don't know how they, it's very different when you play one game a week versus when you have to play 2-3 games a week. Maintaining your level over 2-3 games a week is much, much hard, and across the season is much, much harder than doing it, playing 40 games or 42 games. Most mid-table players don't play more than 42, 43 games, right? You play 38 games in the league, and maybe you get a cup run, maybe you won't. Some mid-table clubs forego cup runs entirely. Some take it seriously. You get 42, 43 games on average over a season. Whereas if you're playing for a big club, we're playing for a Manchester City, a Manchester United, Liverpool, you're playing 50, 60 games, right? You're playing 50, 60 games a season. That's a lot of games, and that is completely different when you're playing to playing 42, 40, 43 games, all of which you don't even 42, 43 games in a season. There's a big difference, and it's same for goalkeepers, same for outfield players. It's very easy to play 40, 42 games in a season, or relatively easier to play 42, 43 games in a season at a high level, whereas as opposed to playing 50, 55 games, at a high level. And not mention the fact that, when you're playing in the Champions League, obviously the competition is much higher. The level is much higher when you're playing in the Champions League, when you're playing Europa League, even it's much higher than playing a League Cup or an FA Cup run. So there is levels to that, and you don't know how players will do. So it's always very difficult. So Sanchez doesn't have that experience. Brighton won in Europe last year. Now they're going to be in Europe this year. So, this year we'll see what their players actually can do, how good their players are, because many of them will be playing 2-3 games a week. How do you cope with that? That's when you really know whether a player is good or not. And that's why I said Declan Rice has proven that, because he's done that in the Conference League, the Europa League for West Ham. He's done that over 2 years. So you now know that there's a player who can play consistently well week in, week out. Whereas we don't know that about Robert Sanchez. We don't even know that about Moises Caicedo for that matter, or McAllister for that matter. So these players still need that sort of experience. And it's a very big transition. So you don't always want to be paying heavy money. So I don't know Sanchez for me. He has done it in a 38-game season, but remember, he's done it for a mid-table club. He's not done it at a top 6 club. Brighton are a top 6 club now, but Sanchez wasn't part of that run for a large chunk of it. He didn't play a large chunk of it in that run. So is he as good, for a top 6 club? It's a question to be asked, and I don't think it's a risk. And I think when you've got Onana that's available for 45 million pounds, let's say, paying 30 million pounds for Sanchez doesn't make sense. To me, it doesn't make sense. But maybe it does to you, but it doesn't to me. So I think Sanchez for about 10, 15 million pounds, maybe I would consider it. Maybe, but Brighton are never going to sell that low. So you're looking at 30 million pounds. He's not, yeah. I mean, if you're going to pay 30 million pounds for Sanchez, you might as well pay 45 for Onana. That's my opinion. Again, my opinion. Feel free to share your thoughts, of course, and what do you think is the best idea, but that's what I would say. And then, of course, more Manchester United news is about SOFYAN AMRABAT. SOFYAN AMRABAT, now, this is an interesting one again, because AMRABAT was linked with Barcelona for a long time. That deal fell through for price issues. Now, United have come in. Now, there's all sorts of conflicting reports here. Some are saying that personal terms have been agreed. Fabrizio came yesterday and said personal terms have not been agreed. There was talk that the bid, verbal bid was put in. The bid has not been put in. I mean, there's all sorts of news. The Fiorentina CEO has said that there's been no bid at all for Sassuolo. But, there's been nothing, and there is, and they'll negotiate. So there is, I'm still, but obviously there is a Ten Hag connection. And so a lot of people are kind of going, there's a Ten Hag connection. So maybe that deal is easy to do. It doesn't work that way, because if it were, then the entire Ajax squad would be at United. That's not how it works. The price is reasonable. I think they're looking at about 30 million euros, is I think what's been quoted, maybe 30 million pounds, but around that region, 25, 30, 35 million euros is what's been quoted. It's not a bad price. He's 26 years of age, so not very young. He's in his prime, but that's fine. I don't think that's a big issue. Age is not a big issue. Obviously, he would be a good cover for Casemiro. He would be, he could also play as a number 8. I did see him in the Conference League final and a few Fiorentina games, and I liked what he has to offer. He had a very good World Cup. But beyond that, I mean, he also had a good season for Fiorentina. Fiorentina got to the final of the Coppa Italia. They got to the final of the Conference League. So they did very well. And Amrabat, of course, played a big part in that final. But the one goal that they did score, he has a big role to play in that. He's got very good attributes. So he is someone who could be a good signing. For the price tag, it would be a wonderful signing. Now, the question is, will Manchester United pay that price? So do they have money? Right? Because they still have to sign Onana. They still have to sign a striker, which is probably going to be Højlund. Will they have money to sign Amrabat after that? From what we're hearing, no. But obviously, they'll have to sell a few players to get that money. And, the problem is none of the players are leaving. That's another issue. None of the players are leaving. Nobody's leaving. So, I mean, I think that deal, if that deal will be done, it will be done after Onana and Højlund have been signed. So, or whoever the striker is, but I'm assuming it's Højlund. So, that will be after those two. So, it's not going to happen this month. It's going to happen next month. I don't think it's going to happen this month. And the only reason it happens this month is because United decided that they can't afford a striker. So now they moved on to Amrabat because they'd rather strengthen another position of the pitch. So that's the only reason it would happen this month, is if they move on from a striker. But if they are still serious about signing a striker, then they will not sign Amrabat before they've completed that deal, because they will need money for that. Because they're skint at the moment. They're working on the budget as they go. They're not able to sell the players that they want to sell at the prices that they want to sell. So what kind of money will be left over is going to be interesting to see. But it's still up in the air. It is still up in the air, and I don't know how that will progress, but we will see. We shall see what happens. Very interesting. It's one to keep an eye on. But like I said, don't believe any of the news right now. I don't believe any of the news right now. I don't think that deal is anywhere close to even being done. I don't think it's even been started yet. If you ask me, I think that deal is not even been started yet. They've not even started working on that deal yet. So that's what I think. But but we'll see. We'll keep an eye on that, of course, and we'll give you information as we know more. But like I said, I don't like to follow United transfer news because most of it is just bullshit. So that's where I'm at. But it will be an interesting one to see. And then, of course, talk a bit about Saudi Arabia. There is interest in Morata, and Morata has interest from from Saudi Arabia, but he also has interest from AC Milan. So where will he go? He wants to go to AC Milan, but there is interest from Saudi Arabia as well. Al Ettifaq FC are the ones who want him. That's their priority target. Now that they've got Steven Gerrard. Steven Gerrard's priority targets are Alvaro Morata and Philippe Coutinho and Jordan Henderson. Those are what he wants, the Liverpool connection for the last two. But he has got an offer from Ettifaq, but he wants to go to Milan. So he has to make a decision of where he wants to go. Obviously, I don't think Milan will be able to match what Ettifaq are offering. But at the same time, I think it's the question is, where does he want to be? Does he want to play at a high level? I think he'll want to play at a higher level. I know Saudi Arabia are getting there. I don't think they're there yet, but they're getting there in terms of being a high level league. Or they're trying to get there to be a high level league, but they're not there yet. So I think he'll probably choose Milan because he's still at start of a Spain. He's still got that Spain connection. Sorry. He's still a start of Spain, so they'll still want to keep him. Whereas if you look at and they'll probably want him to play as AC Milan rather than playing at Ettifaq. So that's what I think it is. But obviously, these things, a lot has changed, a lot has become different, and a lot has switched. So we don't know what's going to happen. But I think he will choose AC Milan depending on the price. Of course, if Milan can match the fee that Atletico want for him, then yeah, I think he'll go to Milan. But one to keep an eye on, of course. So Al Ali are interested in Sadio Mane. They already signed Roberto Firmino, by the way, but they're also interested in signing Sadio Mane. That would be interesting, right? The Liverpool reunion with Mane and Firmino. Very interesting to get them back, try and win another league title by getting the Liverpool league winning duo together. So that'd be one to watch. I think Mane will stay at Bayern, though. I think he will stay at Bayern for a bit longer, one more season. I think he'll give it one more season before he goes. Now, it could change, and maybe there's a lot of money on offer, and then they go right. Yeah, and Bayern might get a big transfer fee for him. Remember, Bayern want to bring in Kane, so I don't think those two transfers linked. But if they can get Mane sold for a nice little price, then maybe that will help them in their pursuit of Kane as well. So maybe they'll look at that, but it will take a really good offer for Mane to go, for Bayern to agree to sell Mane, and for Mane to agree to go to Al Ali. So that's still one to keep an eye on. I don't think that deal is hot right now. I think it's just something that's rumored. It may happen. But I think it's still in the rumor stages at the moment and not really in the concrete interest stage. So that's where I think that one is, but would be interesting. And I'm sure Firmino will try to convince Mane that, hey, come here, let's play together. Again, let's be played together again. Maybe there might be something there as well, but one to keep an eye on. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that one. And then finally, we'll talk about, unless I can find anything else on Fabrizio, but I don't think there's anything else that's there. The final thing I'm going to talk about is PSG and Mbappe. So PSG, Nasser Al-Khelaifi has come out and said that there is no way, and we said this before as well, but he's now come out and confirmed that he's not staying for free. Mbappe is either going to sign a new contract with PSG or he's got to leave this season. There is no way he's going to leave on a free next year. No matter what Mbappe says, he's got to go this year. That's what has come out from Al-Khelaifi. Now, that is very interesting because, this for me is as a potential for a really, really bad saga. And I say why really bad saga, because when you think about all the financial complications that are involved in this deal, it is all well and good both sides saying what they want. I think Mbappe has the upper hand here. And the reason why he has the upper hand is, for one, PSG are not, PSG can say we're not going to let him go for free. But how low do you go? How low do you go for Mbappe? Do you sell, because Mbappe has already said what his salary demands are. His salary demands are going to be astronomical. He's not going to go to a club. He's not going to be pushed out of a club if a club doesn't agree to pay him what he feels he deserves. And I think he's going to demand a lot of money. I mean, I can easily, he's probably going to ask for 400, 500K a week, right? Which when you look at that 500K a week, it's about, how much is that? 5 into, I mean, 500, somebody can do the math. I think it's about 1 million every 2 weeks. So you're looking at about 26 million. So you got 26 million pounds a year. That's just going to be his contract, 26 million pounds a year. And he's probably going to want a 3-4 year contract. So that you're already looking at about 100 million pound contract just there. Just 100 million pounds just on the contract, right? So that's a big amount of chunk money. Then he's probably going to want a signing on bonus, which is probably going to be at least 20, 30 million pounds. He's going to want a big signing on bonus as well. And then they're going to have to pay a transfer fee on top of that. And how is a club, no matter whether you're Manchester City, whether you're Manchester United, whether you're Real Madrid, any other club in the world, how do you justify paying that kind of money for a player? How do you justify, putting out 120, 130 million pounds just on the package, just on the player, and then you've got to pay 120, 130 million pound transfer fee? Because PSG are not going to sell him for 20, 30 million pounds, are they? They're going to want to sell him for 100, 150 million pounds. They paid 180 million pounds for this player, by the way. They paid a lot of money for this player. They've given him a big salary. They give him a massive, raise in the last contract when they signed last season. They gave him a big raise. They gave him a lot of perks. How do you then go and say, right, we're going to sell you for 20 million pounds? They can't. I don't think any club is going to want to pay more than 50 million pounds for him. That is going to be, I get, because of the package that's involved, right? Because if you're talking 120 million pounds, you then have to pay 150 million pound transfer fee. That is 270 million pounds. 270 million pounds in a player is just weird. There's no club in the world that can justify affording it. Yes, maybe Manchester City can pay it. Yes, maybe Newcastle United can pay it. They can pay that fee, right? Well, Mbappe want to go to Newcastle. There's another matter, but they can pay that fee. But how do you justify it to the people who are looking, who are closely monitoring those deals? How do you pay? How do you justify it to them? How does Manchester City go and say, to if FFP is still a thing, how do they go and say, well, we can afford to pay this? They can't. They're already struggling to, they've got 300 million pounds apparently revenues, but they still have to show 30 million pounds of disguised sponsorship revenue. They still have to go and do that kind of cheating. So how does City then go and do that with Mbappe? How do Newcastle do that? How do Real Madrid are skin? They don't have money. How are they going to do that? There's no other club. Manchester United apparently don't have money either. So how are they going to do that either? So, and we're talking about big clubs here. Obviously Chelsea, I don't think are going to be interested. I mean, Chelsea might be interested, but will they be able to do it? I don't think so. Liverpool and Arsenal. There's all talks. Arsenal interested in Mbappe. I don't think Arsenal are going to be able to pay prepare a 270 million pound package when they've already paid 100 million pounds to Declan Rice. Keep in mind, to prepare that kind of package is just unbelievable. So I just don't see it happening. And that's where I think Mbappe holds the cards, because Mbappe can simply say, I'm running my contract down. I am not staying at this club. You can try and sell me off, but these are my wage demands. If a club agrees to match my wage demands, and then you can negotiate with them on a fee. But do you think you're going to get a fee? PSG are not going to be able to sell him for more than 50. They want to sell him. They're not going to be able to sell him for more than 50 because of his wage demands, right? Now maybe that might change. Maybe Newcastle will come in and say, doesn't matter, screw FFP. We'll pay 150 million pounds for this player. We'll do it. Give it to him. Give him to us. Maybe they can. Maybe Manchester City go wide. We've already made a mockery of FFP before. We can do it again. Give us a player. We'll get him. We'll play Haaland and Mbappe together. Create the world's first super team. We've had super clubs. Now we'll create a super team. The fantasy team. Maybe they can, but I just don't see it happening. As far as sorry about that, yeah, and I think Mbappe would fit either team actually. But as far as now the other side of us, PSG could very well go, well, if you don't sign a new contract, we won't play you. We'll put you in the reserves. You'll never play. You won't play for a year. We'll make it. Oh, God, I don't know what happened to me now. Sorry about that. God, I had hiccups right at the last moment there. Gonna have some water. Sometimes you have something stuck in your throat, which I'm having now, but I can't even clear it, because every time I clear it, I get hiccups. So I'm kind of just stuck with this thing. So anyway, the worst time to have it is when you're doing a live show, right? But on the Mbappe side, now PSG could say, well, we're going to play you. We're not going to play you. We're going to make you a sub. You won't be starting games. You'll be reserved. You won't be playing. Can PSG afford to do that to one of the most marketable and most influential players? Can they? Yes, they can. They definitely can. Will they? Probably not. Shit, I'm sorry about that. God, this is bad. Sorry about that. Yeah, so will they do it? Probably not. Can they do it? Yes. I hope this is gone now, because it's the worst time to have it. But yeah, sorry about that. Oh God, I'm having it again. I thought it was gone, but Right. I'll try to finish this quickly. But yeah, right. So the sub issue is he going to be a sub? Maybe, but then you also lose his value. And then the more important issue is it just creates a negative team dynamic about how the most popular player and the most market player doesn't want to play for PSG, and yet you're keeping him against you're keeping him, but you're not playing him, right? You basically want to sell him against his will, but he won't go. So now he's staying. You don't want that kind of player, especially with Enrique building something new at PSG. They're really creating a nice little team dynamic. They've got some bit good signings in for this team, and you want to build a positive, harmonious team dynamic right off the bat. And then again, you put the manager Enrique in a position where he's got to deal with Mbappe, a player who wants to stay, but the club doesn't want him to stay. You don't want to put that on the new manager. So I think PSG will have to resolve this. I just don't see what a clear resolution would be, where both teams will come out of it as parties will come out of it as winners. I just don't see that situation. I don't see that situation happening. So that's where I'm coming from. Now, maybe something might be in your mind that you think could be done. So please share it. God, I can't speak here, but yeah, please do share that. Of course, your thoughts, and let me know what do you think could happen with this situation. If there is a resolution for this situation, I think Mbappe will stay. I think he will stay, and then he will go on a free transfer because he knows Mbappe is not doing this out of love for PSG. Whatever he might say, he knows that if he stays at PSG for another year, when he goes on a free transfer, he can bag much higher wages, and he can get a much bigger signing bonus. Players think about money, and he's thinking about money as well. And he knows that if PSG put a price tag on him, no club is going to pay it, and any club that pays it is going to that's going to impact his salary, and it's going to impact his signing on bonus, which he doesn't want. Right? And he knows that he can stay another year at PSG, and then he'll still be in demand next year. So I see where Mbappe is coming from, and he knows what he has to do, and he knows that he holds the cards. So that's what's going to happen. But we'll see what happens. Qatar, they'll do what Qatar have to do, and we'll have to see what happens. But I don't see the saga ending very well. I see it getting very messy. Anyway, I'm going to stop here because I was going to stop here anyway, but the hiccups are making it even worse. But sorry about my hiccups. I hope that didn't distract from the overall experience of the show. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please do smash a like if you did enjoy it. Please do subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Really appreciate your support. Do share in the comments what you thought of the show. What do you think about all the things that we discussed? Always love hearing your thoughts and your ideas and suggestions. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again very, very soon. Take care. Bye bye. God, this is very bad.